Good evening and welcome to this edition of Behind the Badge. This evening we're going to be talking about the Juvenile Assessment Center and Crosswinds Youth Services, as well as the Juvenile Civil Citation Program that's been enacted in Brevard County. With me this evening are going to be Karen Locke, with the Chief Operating Officer for Crosswinds, Blaze Tetris, he's with the Public Defender's Office, and Deputy Chief Bobby Jones with the Cocoa Police Department. We're going to talk about the Juvenile Assessment Center and the Juvenile Civil Citation Program, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you.
This is the Melbourne Police Department, one of Florida's premier and most technologically advanced police agencies. Specialists in crime prevention, detection, and investigation. The Melbourne Police Department is adaptable and responsive to the community's needs, with numerous divisions and specialty units designed to promote an atmosphere of security for the citizens they serve. The Melbourne Police Department, committed to your safety, leveraging the capabilities of its law enforcement professionals, providing you with the best in police service.
Welcome back. With me right now is Karen Locke. She's the Chief Operating Officer for Crosswinds and Cocoa. Karen, can you tell me for a few minutes about Crosswinds and your relationship with the Juvenile Assessment Center? And we'll tie that into the Juvenile Civil Citation Program in just a minute. But first, I think we need to know about Crosswinds and all the youth services that they provide and how the Juvenile Assessment Center fits into this program.
Certainly, Chief. Crosswinds is located in Cocoa. We're a 36-year-old company who provides services for young people between the ages of 10 to 24. And we provide several different services to our juveniles here in Brevard County. We have a 24-hour shelter where young people can be dropped off if they're in need of services, whether they were run away from out of state or mom and dad decide they need some respite because the child has been acting up or they're truant at school. We also offer in-home counseling through our SINSFINS services, along with our Rainwater Day Treatment Center for young women who have been adjudicated because of some criminal act that they've done, but the judge has seen something in them that requires us to work with them that may be able to prevent them from going to a lockdown facility. We also have the Juvenile Assessment Center. At the Assessment Center, officers can drop off a young person who has been detained because of a misdemeanor. And what we do there is assess the young person, decide whether or not they're in need of services, whether they need counseling, whether there's something going on educationally. And our latest program at the Juvenile Assessment Center is the Civil Citation Program. The Civil Citation Program started October 1st, 2009, with Titusville being our pilot area. And at that point, we trained the officers in Titusville to deliver the Civil Citation Program to young people. And what the Civil Citation is an opportunity for a young person, in lieu of an arrest, to receive a citation, again, show up to the Juvenile Assessment Center, where we, again, assess them, offer counseling, they have to perform community service, and they also get to write letters of apologies, both to the victims, and in some cases, even officers have received letters because the juveniles have realized that what they're doing just is not the best path for them. We've had over 175 juvenile civil citation in the past 9 months that we've had the program. We've been funded by Eckerd Foundation, and they've been really gracious to give us a second year of funding so we can continue the program. At this point, I will say that all law enforcement is on board, along with our state attorney's office, our public defender's office, and the Board of Education. So we're really working hard with law enforcement to continue civil citation. When an officer writes a civil citation, the idea is that the young person is able to make retribution for what they've done without having an actual arrest record. Does that help, Chief?
That helps a lot. I mean, that's a lot of information in a short period of time. I appreciate that. Outside of, you mentioned Titusville PD.
Yes.
Are there some other agencies that are specifically involved in this, law enforcement agencies? You mentioned the public defender and the state attorney's office. What other law enforcement agencies are participating?
At the moment, all law enforcement are on board. Cocoa PD, we're actually located in Cocoa. Both their chief and deputy chief meet with all the other chiefs at a meeting quarterly to discuss juvenile issues within our county. Melbourne PD, all law enforcement, as I've said, the Sheriff's Office, have all written civil citation to date. And they're all trying to make a difference in our kids' lives. What they are realizing, the officers, from talking with them, is that this gives them an opportunity to sort of teach kids things, to kind of not always arrest someone who's initially committed a crime. You know that it's not cool to steal. Most of our kids know that. But they have no real way of learning that, and this prevents them from going through the judicial system and gives counselors a chance to work with them, find out what's happening in the home.
One of the things that parents are going to ask is, if my child's arrested, are they eligible for this program?
You're only eligible if it's a misdemeanor, first or second time. So if your child actually commits a felony, they would not qualify for civil citation. And it could only be done twice. So there's sort of a get out of jail free card, as the counselors like to say, the first and second time that you've made a mistake. And a mistake would be something that's not violent. Kids who have been found with alcohol on the beach, children who have stolen from, like, our local Ron Johns, which is one of our partners. They issue a civil citation in lieu of an arrest for theft, things like that. So we're really careful of what items would qualify. Lewd and lascivious behavior does not qualify, for instance, for a civil citation.
Excellent. One of the things that parents are also going to ask is, what's required of me? Once my child's been put into the program, what am I going to be required to do?
As a parent, this program can't exist for several reasons. One, we need for you to bring the young person to their appointment. And we give 7 days for a young person to show up and get assessed by our juvenile assessment counselors. Secondly, the child is assigned assignments, which includes letter writing. Sometimes they do what we call restorative justice projects, which may be a poster. They write public service announcements. They write a skit. They do things to really talk about their crime. They do things to do research. That all happens in the home, and the parents need to be a part of that. We also run parent groups. Raising a child today, we know, is difficult, and we try to offer some support. So we do offer a parenting group, which parents can elect to take. It's not court-ordered, but we found that most parents, once they've attended, have found it very useful. So the child really needs the parent involvement. There's got to be that buy-in.
And the Juvenile Civil Citation Program is designed to put those children who have been arrested for some minor offense out of the mainstream criminal system and into a system that, or a program that will allow them to avoid a criminal record if they follow certain criteria. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about the criteria and what's required. And we're going to have Blaise Tetris with the Brevard County Public Defender's Office talk to us about some of the things that the children are involved in when they get involved in a civil citation situation, and what can be expected from the Public Defender's Office. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Crime Line, 1-800-423-TIPS. We pay cash for crooks. No names, no faces, no hassles. Call us day or night. You're eligible for up to a $1,000 reward if we use your tip to make an arrest. Crimes happen every day in our community. You know they are wrong, but do you care enough to do something about it? Call the Anonymous Tips Hotline today, 1-800-423-TIPS.
He works with illusions. He works with illusions too. He makes things disappear. He makes things disappear too. This man's performance is an adrenaline rush for him. So is his. This man deals in the reality of escapism. This man escapes reality. He bets that winning is not an illusion. This man is a magician, winning the applause of his audience. This man is a compulsive gambler, losing his money, losing his self-worth, and losing his family. There is no illusion for the compulsive gambler except that of winning, but there is help, and that's the simple reality. No tricks, no illusions. Call the Florida Council on Compulsive Gambling helpline, 888-ADMIT-IT.
Welcome back. With me now is Blaise Tetris with the Brevard County Public Defender's Office. And Blaise, tell me, we were talking about the Juvenile Civil Citation Program and how the kids can get involved in that program. But from the public defender's perspective, are are there any other agencies or any other counties in the state that have been involved in this program, and what has their experience been?
Yes, Chief, there's a couple of counties at least. I know Miami-Dade County has had a civil citation program for years, and when we were having meetings and trying to start the program here in Brevard County, we had representatives from Miami-Dade give a presentation to us, and they've had a very successful program in Miami-Dade, which has actually resulted in a net reduction in the number of juvenile delinquency cases that have gone through the criminal system in Miami-Dade County since it was introduced years ago. And they showed some statistics Miami-Dade County did of other cities of the same size or maybe a little bit smaller who during the same years had experienced a big increase in the number of juvenile delinquency cases. So it was a huge success in Miami-Dade County, and they were big proponents of it and really came up here and tried to urge us to go forward with the program. We also learned about Hillsborough County on the Gulf Coast. Now, Hillsborough County, they limit their civil citation only to the public school system, which is very beneficial. But in Brevard, when we were initially talking about starting the juvenile civil citation program, we decided that we would like to expand it to not just the school system, but also to every police department and the sheriff's department in Brevard County, and that's what we did. And we're glad that we did because we're getting both cases from the school system, the resource officers, and also from the deputies on the street and the police officers on the street. And I think from the public defender's perspective, that's been a real big advantage, is actually having this program in the school system, because from the public defender's perspective, what's happened over the years is that what used to be considered school disciplinary problems seem to somehow evolved into criminal problems. So instead of someone getting in a fist fight and getting a detention or getting suspended, it seems over the years that evolved into an arrest for battery and a criminal record. And from our perspective, the public defender's perspective, it's much better that a lot of these things, as long as it's a misdemeanor, can be still considered a disciplinary thing, which shouldn't track the kid for the rest of their life with a criminal history, and it's handled this way instead, which is a great benefit.
So once the child is issued a juvenile civil citation for one of these requisite offenses, then how does that affect their permanent record? Did you mention that? Yes,
it really shouldn't, Chief, because the only record that exists is really that one-page usually referral to the civil citation program. And there is no criminal record that's generated from the civil citation. It's actually, I would consider a diversion process where it diverts cases from the criminal process. So there is no criminal record, which again is of great benefit to kids who mess up and would have gotten arrested for a misdemeanor, because in these days what we found that, especially with the military has become so selective with the juveniles that they accept into the military, that we found that even misdemeanor criminal records can cause kids problems and sometimes even result in them not getting into the military. So this is another great benefit from our perspective, that it will allow kids to, have a chance to get into the military that actually might not have otherwise.
So Karen mentioned a few minutes ago that so far in Brevard County, 179 kids have been put into the juvenile civil citation program. And that's 179 cases that ultimately don't wind up in a courtroom and, for lack of a better terminology, clog the system.
Right.
So that from that perspective, it also relieves a lot of the responsibility of the courts in dealing with a lot of these cases that probably shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Yeah, it's a big savings to the court system, and it's actually, I think, one of the biggest beneficiaries of the civil citation program is the state of Florida, because the state of Florida taxpayers pay for everyone who's involved in the criminal justice system, the judges, the clerks, the public defenders, the state attorneys, and these cases are diverted from that system, not requiring any work or positions from those offices to work on those cases. So it is a relief to the criminal justice system, and these are actually cases that we don't ever see because they're diverted from the criminal system, which allows our attorneys to work on the real serious cases, the felony crimes, which deserve and need a lot of time and attention, whereas these cases, oftentimes they can take a lot of time, but they're not the real important cases in the criminal system.
What do you think the biggest advantage is of this system for Brevard County and the kids involved?
You know, I think the biggest advantages are for the juvenile themselves. It allows them to often make it through a mistake that a lot of people go through as kids. You know, they commit a misdemeanor, a lot of times they don't get caught and it's never a problem for them. But the kids who do get caught for committing a misdemeanor crime, like a 14-year-old girl stealing a bikini at Macy's or something like that, it allows them to get through that, learning their lesson, paying the price, without having a criminal record and without affecting them in all the negative ways that I just spoke of. And one other positive thing I think about it is we've seen in the public defender's office, when some juveniles end up in the criminal justice system, they're not criminals, they probably don't have a life of crime in front of them, but I think they seem to view themselves branded maybe as a bad apple once they're there and they start acting the part. And this allows them to avoid that whole bad element that's actually part of the criminal justice system.